can't hear it.
I know, right? We're just killing it today.
Greg, my name's Adam, and yes, you may share this on the podcast. I have kind of a complex situation between my parents and my wife and I. There's some disagreements after my son was born, and some of our wishes were not respected about his safety and some of the things my family wears, like perfume. Anyway, it was not received well. And this has gone on now. My son's almost 6.5 years old. And I'm still not healed from this huge division between my parents and my wife. And I realized that, building a new family, we kind of set aside some of our old family's ways, our original family unit. And I'm just having trouble addressing my family because they don't like to hear criticism. They will never apologize. And basically it would turn into a huge manipulation, just like every conversation about this situation has. Anyway, probably clear as mud, but love you guys, love the podcast, really appreciate all the work you're doing so I can do my work,
Adam goes on to share some more personal information there because obviously we don't want to share that on the podcast, but it's a really good question.
Yeah.
What's the first thing that comes to mind for you, babe?
It sounds like a really, really difficult. That's difficult and tough come together. So that's a difficult situation. Like, that's just shitty. Mm-hmm. That's so hard to be pulled in those different directions. And like, when it comes to, I love that he said original family unit. When it comes to that situation, it is so hard to navigate between that old, right? That original, these programs as an adult when it formed as child. So there's still like that embodiment that is twisted there and wants your parents close, that wants that family, that has all of these things, what was your lifeline. And to feel like I'm rocking the boat, especially when it's really challenging, they're not going to take any accountability. They're not going to listen to what the boundaries that you hold for your family. And it's just to be thrown in those two places, like that is so hard. That is such a hard, scary place to try and navigate, and to find a place in yourself where you can start to take a breath and set those boundaries is so scary. And what it comes down, like just a broadly put, there isn't like fixing the relationship between your wife and your parents isn't something that you can do. It's not up to you to navigate that. And it sounds like that you're having like those same feelings as your wife in a sense, because you're mentioning your family's not taking accountability. They're not willing to hear what you feel is to be safe around your child, that's your choice. You get to choose that. So the fact that there is that separation, and it would be so much easier if everybody got along, which it would be, but it's not in your hands at that point. So it would be like, I would think there was a part of some really hard choices ahead, some really hard, difficult things for you to sit with. And that comes with the first thing that you're looking at is like, what is those boundaries that you have for your child, which you absolutely get to choose. You and your wife have the say in what is safe for your kid and what you want around them. Your family doesn't have to agree with you. They don't have to accept it. They don't have to go along with it. They don't have to think that you're doing the right thing. But if they want access, then they have to respect your boundaries. Or they cannot, and then things can continue on where they are. But finding that place of where you're setting those boundaries, you're not going to make everybody happy here. It doesn't, at least, that doesn't mean that people can't come to a conclusion and come to a unity later on. They absolutely can. But that comes with healthy boundaries. That comes with you setting boundaries that are right for you and your child. And that people get to decide how they're going to respond to those boundaries. Are they going to accept them or are they not? Because it might not be right for them. They don't have to agree. Oh, my goodness.
It's such a hard one, isn't it?
It's such a hard one because I know what I'm saying is like the thing that you're butting up against right now. And I think that the fact that you're butting up against that is just because that's the thing that you don't want to do. You don't want to set those boundaries. You just want it to be
just want
better.
It to work out.
And I totally get that.
Yeah.
And the I guess I don't want to say the reality, but the other aspect of it, the other perspective is those boundaries have to be set and it might not work out the way that you want it to.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole like dealing with the in-laws and that whole dynamic is something that obviously we've clusterfucked our way through our whole relationship, right? And there's a lot of things that we could say right now as far as like, what should you do next? And Steph talked a lot about those things and boundaries and everything like that. And there's also like some hard truths of there's deeper things that are happening below all of this. This is just the surface level thing where these things are playing out. You have all sorts of preconceived ideas and notions and behaviors and patterns that are ingrained with your original family, with your parents, or if you have siblings or anything like that. All of those things are really driving what's happening right now. And it's easy to say up on the surface that, oh, you just need to set some boundaries and then let people experience those boundaries how they are. And that's one component of it. And that's what we would definitely recommend getting really interested in and curious about and looking at healthy boundaries and being on the same page with your partner and like not going to make everybody happy, right? Everybody, there's no way to move through this situation where everybody comes out immediately, meaning like the day after or the month after or the year after better. This type of dynamic will take years to be processed and unfold, but it does need to get started. And then there's another part of it where the more you can look at your relationship with your parents and either the health of that or the unhealthiness of that relationship, the better off you're going to be in the long run, because it's going to help you probably in some of those boundary settings, because you're being manipulated regardless of their actions and choices because of the way that you're like subconsciously manipulating yourself. Like my guess is you probably stew over this quite a bit.
Yeah.
And every time it comes up, you're dreading it. And every time it's an issue and every time there's a fight, every time there's an argument, then it's weighing really heavily on your mind. And that doesn't have anything to do with your partner, with your wife, with your kids, with your mom and dad. All of that is your own internal struggle. And it's stemming from those original relationships in the way that your parents taught you how to behave and react, especially in regards to them.
Right.
So a lot of what has to take place is you have to be able to step into this new dynamic that you want to create. But in order to do that, you're going to have to become a new person. You're going to have to become a new version of yourself. And in order to do that, you have to have awareness of the current version that you are. So that's like the deeper part of it, because shifting up a dynamic like this doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen with ease and grace. It happens sloppily over months and years of practice and work. And we'd love to pretend like it's really easy to just be like, well, here's the new boundary, mom and dad. And if you can't meet it, then you can't come over and we're not coming over to your house. And do that if you can, right? That's great. But more often it looks like, hey, will you please stop doing this? Why? I'm doing this because I love you. I care about my grandkids, blah, 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 blah. All that nonsense.
You guys turned out just fine. Right? You're here. I've raised
kids
are you?
Before. Who do you think you are telling us? We're your parents. We know how to do this, blah, blah. All of the bullshit that fucking adults and parents will do. I shouldn't say adults. That parents will do. You have to wade through all of those things and unpack all of those things along the way while you're also processing some of these deeper things and recognizing what's actually at play, right? You have manipulation, you have control. And that, and not to say in my opinion, but from my experience, that was love. So your parents are trying to love you. They're trying to love their grandchild. They're trying to show you love in the way that they show love, which is through manipulation and control and an inability to take any accountability. And so that's that's what is the sticking point oftentimes when you deal with people like this, is because they think that they're showing love. They think that they're doing what's best. And in their mind, that's where they're coming from. You can't change that.
Yeah.
That's not the goal. The goal is to change how you see it. The goal is to recognize how your actions shape and influence that. And if that's not your program around love, like if love to you doesn't equal manipulation and control now in your present day life, and you want to change that, this is where that starts. This is your opportunity to start setting some of those boundaries and start doing some of that work. But it's hard.
Yeah.
It's so freaking hard.
I have a thought. One more that I want to add to you with that is that getting clear on what it is that you want. And just like you want to have your parents to have a relationship, a healthy relationship with you, with your family now, with you, your wife, and your child.
Exactly.
And so we're going to get like curious about that just for a moment. And you can even think about this in letter form, like reaching out to them. And I want us to be together. I want you to have an active role in our lives and in your grandchild's life, in my child's life. Maybe approach it that way. I want you to have an active role in my life and my child's life. And then you set the boundary. This is like, in order to be in our space, in order to participate in this, we need you to, or, oh gosh, I had it so perfectly. Then there's the boundary, right? There's the healthy thing. It's not healthy for our child to have these scents around. It's not healthy so we would love you to come over, and we're excited to. Our boundaries are this. So there's no perfume, there's no whatever it is. And this is where it gets tricky. Okay. So you're saying you want them to be involved, because it sounds like you do. Here is the boundary. It's clear. You do not have to explain your boundary. You do not have to be like, because the doctor said this, because I feel this, and it really, like, all of those things. No, you have your want. You want the family units to join together. These are the boundaries. And then you end it with, I really hope that we can find a way to make this. I really hope that you are able to respect our boundaries so we can spend more time together. So you're not saying they're doing anything wrong. You're not coming at them that they need to change their ways. You're saying, I want you in our lives. Here is what the boundaries are for our family. And we're opening that invitation for you. And we're hoping that you step into that space with us. And then you can take it another step, and to be clear. And if that happens, if not, we're going to have a little bit of space. We're going to have more space. And it's not a threat. It's not an ultimatum. It's like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to choose to have space in our family unit until these boundaries can be met. You're not holding it over them. You're not making them change who they are. You're giving them full empowerment to hear your boundaries and decide whether or not they're stepping into them.
Yeah, they have complete control.
They have complete control. They're not doing anything wrong. They get the opportunity to choose whether or not your boundaries are something that they're going to step into. You're not asking them to change who they are. You're not asking them to do anything that hurts them. You're asking a boundary for you and your family to be met for the safety of your child. And it doesn't even have to be for that. You're asking for the boundary. This is what the boundary is. And this is what you plan to do here out. Yeah. This is your actions, your choice.
So boundaries aren't a way to push people out of your life. They're a way to keep people in your life. They're a way to keep people close to you that you love and care about.
That you want close to you.
But in a safe way that feels safe and loving and kind for you based off of how you feel and your perceptions. So remember that, like, that's a really key thing. Like, hey, I'm setting this boundary with you because I want to keep you in my life, not because I don't want you in our life or I don't want you to see your grandchild. I want that to happen, and I want those things to happen. And this is what that's going to look like.
Yes, perfectly said.